How long does a DUI conviction stay on your driving record? Well, there's many aspects to this question, and I need to break it down. So let's talk first about the Ministry of Transportation, because they keep an abstract of your driving record. So the ministry, if you get a DUI today, impaired driving, over 80, refusal of a breath demand, if you're convicted today, they will consider that for the next 10 years. In other words, if you're convicted within the next 10 years of another, they'll consider it to be a second, okay? After 10 years, it lapses from your record. I'm not saying they don't keep a record of it, but they don't consider it a second. So it's a 10-year limitation period. So that's very important, especially for a person who has 3 DUI convictions, because if the 10-year period can lapse, you'll avoid a lifetime suspension. That's very important. Now, the second aspect is insurance. Now, I'm not an insurance expert by any means, but I've talked to insurance people over the years, obviously, from what I do. I mean, I need to converse with them as a DUI lawyer. And I'm told that a DUI conviction will stay on your driving record with the insurance companies for 6 years. In other words, your premiums are going to go through the roof if you can get insurance. Indeed, you'll certainly be paying facility rates. I don't even want to get into. I've seen people pay up to $10,000 a year for insurance, and many not even get it if they're younger people. So that's the second aspect. Now, the third aspect is for court purposes on the government computer for a criminal record. Well, that never goes away unless you get a record suspension. So you can apply for a record suspension from, get this straight because they just changed the law a few years ago, 5 years after the end of your driving prohibition. So if you plead guilty today to impaired driving, you get a 1-year driving prohibition, you're eligible to apply for record suspension, which used to be called a pardon, by the way. They changed the name. 5 years after the end of your prohibition. So how does a Crown Attorney, if you get a second DUI, how does a Crown Attorney look at an old DUI conviction? Well, in theory, it never goes away. So the Crown, the Crown can do this. The Crown can say, look, he's got a prior from 15 years ago. I'm going to rely on that conviction. I'm going to file a notice of application of increased penalty. And if you're convicted, you're facing an automatic 30-day jail term. Or the Crown has discretion too. Like sometimes if DUIs are, say, well, anything over 5 years, they have discretion. But it depends on the county you're in. Some counties might exercise discretion after 10 years and not consider your next DUI as a second and no jail. Others are mean-spirited. They'll go back 20 years, for God's sake. So it's important to apply for a record suspension, a pardon, which is now called a record suspension. It's very important to do that. The problem with that, though, is this is a tricky issue. If you get a second DUI and you've already had a record suspension, the Crown Attorney can actually apply to rescind your pardon or record suspension. They don't necessarily do that, but they can, and they will do it in the right case. So there's a bit of a primer on how long these things stay on your record. The bottom line is with the Ministry of Transportation, 10 years. With the court, forever, unless you get a record suspension, and the Crown can even rescind that if they want on a second. And with your insurance company, 6 years. Thank you for watching our video. We are absolutely committed to bringing you the best possible criminal and DUI educational videos. If you found this video helpful, please like it and subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you've been charged with a criminal offense in Ontario and require our services, please click on the link in the description below.